Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And yesterday there were two main events in Parliament. There was the climate address from Ed Miliband and a statement on the UK-France asylum deal from Yvette Cooper. Both issues where the Tories have plenty to say, and yet the Tories were conspicuous by their absence. Has their plan to morph into a weaker version of Nigel Farage now led them to simply not turning up to debates on issues they claim to care about now? But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So the Tories are basically running scared of Labour now. They may as well throw in the towel at this point. When you can't be bothered to turn up to a debate on two key political issues to make your pitch to the public, you're basically waving the white flag. The Tories always like to talk tough on immigration and have more recently flipped from pretending to care about climate issues and energy security to deciding we should just let the planet melt so that oil companies can make a little bit more profit while profit still means something. But regardless of previous policies, in the here and now, the Tories still claim that both of these issues are incredibly important, and as the official opposition, they are guaranteed a very lengthy right of reply to the government. So if you were paying attention to Ed Miliband's State of the Climate and Nature statement, that when the Tories stood up to reply, that response did not come from his opposite number. The Conservative shadow energy security and net zero minister is Claire Coutinho. Must have come as a surprise for Miliband to finish his speech, sit down, find himself listening to a jug-eared bloke from the Tory benches.
The safety of our citizens, our natural world, the country we pass on, is not a Labour cause or a Conservative cause or that of any other party. It is a British cause. It is a cause of us all, and a cause that requires all of us to consider our responsibilities to the generations of today and the generations to come. And I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Secretary of State Andrew Barr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is a rare pleasure to see the Secretary of State in his place at the dispatch box today.
Being clear, that is not Claire Coutinho. That is one of her underlings. Coutinho was obviously so disinterested in anything to do with her job that when the minister she's shadowing makes a major statement to MPs, she couldn't think of a single question to ask, so just stayed away and sent a junior from her team instead. And perhaps she had the right idea, because when Home Secretary Yvette Cooper gave her statement on the UK-French asylum deal, Chris Philp, who is the Tory shadow Home Secretary, did turn up. There weren't very many of his colleagues in attendance, however.
So we need to be part of the global response to irregular and illegal migration, not separate from it. Working in partnership, not just shouting and pointing at the sea. Everyone knows that there is no single silver bullet to tackle illegal migration and dangerous boat crossings. And it takes time to unpick the deep roots that gangs have put down and to build the foundations of a new cross-border approach. But that is what we're determined to do. Stronger borders, stronger law enforcement in France and in the UK, increasing returns, and building the foundations of a new long-term approach where countries cooperate to prevent illegal migration and to ensure that there is sanctuary for genuine refugees. No one should be making these dangerous boat journeys which undermine our border security and put lives at risk. That is why this cooperation between the UK and France is so important, and I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Home Secretary for advance sight of her statement.
Now, being fair, it's not like the benches were crowded anywhere in the chamber. It's Monday. Some MPs will still be in their constituencies. The main days for parliamentary business are like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Unless there's something major going on, you probably don't get yourself down there on a Monday. And if you didn't feel you needed to say anything at either of these two debates, then there's no vote on anything, so you don't need to be there. However, first of all, the Tories sort of have to be there because they are the ones who are going to respond. So they have to send someone. Now, in this particular case, of course, they sent Chris Philp, who is the shadow Home Secretary. But even when a particular debate isn't well attended, if it's a government debate, if it's a government-led debate, the minister leading that debate will always be backed up by some colleagues. They're never left to sit on their own. And the same applies to the shadow minister. They always have some colleagues with them for solidarity. There's no one. There was no one at either side of him. There's no one behind him. There's no one around him at all. And the Tories also claim that they would do things very differently to Labour on both of these issues. So why didn't they turn up to say so? And even when, as I say, you don't expect large numbers, you at least support your main spokesperson. Yvette Cooper had fellow ministers sat next to her for support. Where were Philp's shadow ministerial mates? Where was Robert Jenrick? He reckons he's got a lot to say on asylum schemes. Where were any of them? But Philp did actually turn up to pose questions to the minister he shadows, probably now wishes he hadn't. It wasn't that long ago he was having his arse handed to him by Angela Rayner at PMQs, and now, having obviously lost his arse in the meantime, had it presented to him again by Yvette Cooper. And this would have been easy, by the way. Philp has the misfortune of having been the immigration minister under the previous Conservative government, when the very issue this deal is designed to address was being made worse. In fact, Chris Philp had personally wanted this very deal with France, which Cooper was explaining. He failed to get it. Turns out spending years just insulting France doesn't get you deals with them. But he wanted the deal, and he was now trying to work out how he could criticise Labour for getting the deal. He personally, and his party more generally, had spent years trying and failing to negotiate. This is probably why he was backed up by so few of his colleagues. They knew Philp was heading into an arse-kicking contest with only one leg. It would be different if the Conservatives were trying to be serious, because then they would understand that you can be selective about what you attack and what you support. I take you back to Labour, particularly during COVID. Starmer was very careful not to just criticise the government for anything. You know, he was selective in what he criticised, and he offered support where it was something that's like, well, we agree with this. But under Kemi Badenoch, the Tories have to oppose everything Labour do. Well, with the opposition, you've got to oppose. It's like, what, even things you agree with? Even when it involves attacking a policy you shared, but just failed to achieve yourselves. And perhaps other Tories, including members of their front bench, understood the stupidity of the position and so steered well clear of that debate. In fact, maybe the reason Philp had to turn up was that, unlike Coutinho, he couldn't persuade one of his own juniors to take his place. Maybe he tried. Maybe he said, oh, would you like taking my place? No, I'm busy. But this just further illustrates the mess the Tories are in. They should be making the right-wing case for net zero in order to win back votes from Reform UK. Surely, if the Tories want to get votes back from Reform UK, they need to say, we're different, not the same. They're copying Farage's climate policies, which are even at odds with most Reform voters. Remember, most Reform voters are in favour of net zero. They're actually in favour of Labour's climate action. How on earth do the Tories think that's going to work? We're going to try and win back voters from Reform UK by copying the policies Reform UK have that are unpopular even with their own voters. I often like to think I can work out plausible reasons behind a political strategy, even if I think it's the wrong strategy. On this one, I haven't got a clue. And as for attacking a scheme which your own party spent years trying to agree, it was clear from Philp's lack of support from his own party. Even the Tories know this is ridiculous. The Tories have basically given up at this point. It's like a football team, 15-0 down, but you've got half an hour still to go, and you just go, oh, God. Shuffling up and down the pitch, waiting for the final whistle to finally put you out of your misery. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind-the-scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.